On the 5th of March 2023, an MX rider competing in round 1 of the ProMX Championship at Wonthaggi lost his life in a tragic accident while doing what he loved. This episode is dedicated to the memory of Brayden Erbacher and in honour of everyone else out there that is chasing their dreams.
There were times I was lost, dark had fear, couldn't see through the rain. In the end it was clear, hit the fan. I was more than one man who was there to lend a hand. Together we'd stand, always had my back, my guardian soldier. Team pulled together, united we conquer. Blessed is he who in the name of charity carry me when I'm weak straight through the valley of darkness. Pitch blackness, the heartless, regardless, fear couldn't part us. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. We ride, ride. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper.
And we're back. This is episode 6 of the Mental for Moto show, and we've got a great show lined up for you guys. There's definitely a lot of ground to cover. We're going to take a look back at the first 2 rounds of the 2023 Penrite ProMX Championship, held at Wonthaggi and Appin respectively, as well as look ahead and discuss what we might expect when we head to Albury Wodonga for round 3. We'll also be getting a couple of riders on the line. Memphis Trevena, he went up to race MX3 at Appin a couple of weeks ago. We'll also be chatting to Cory Watts, who raced in the MX1 class at Appin, and get his thoughts on what was, by all accounts, a pretty challenging day. Joining me today as my co-host for this episode is Deathgrip Products Travis Coward. Welcome back to the studio, mate. How's things?
Yo, it's good to be back in the Wolf Den, or whatever you want to call this place.
That'll do. I haven't thought about that yet, but that sounds like a good enough name.
Come on, you got to have a cool sounding name.
Yep. You've been out riding? You've been doing much?
Not lately. I've been fighting with the bike in the garage. Decided to do a little bit of maintenance on it the other day and greased the steering bearings on it.
Yeah.
And had the handlebars just sitting on top of the tank, and unfortunately the bars slid off and ripped the wire out for the starter. So
that'll ruin your day.
It's done something to it. I still can't get it started. So
I've noticed you've recently launched a few different lines of merch. How's all that going?
Yeah, not too bad.
So what have you got?
T-shirts, some socks, some hats.
Might have to indulge.
Got it all going on.
Very
Just
cool.
need a men's line of underwear, and
there's probably a market for that. There's a market for everything these days.
These days, isn't there?
Yeah. All right, we've got a lot to get through tonight, so let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
First of all, let's go back and do a quick recap of round 1 of the ProMX Championship, which took place at the Wonthaggi motocross track on the 5th of March. Of course, the day's racing was cut short due to the tragic accident that occurred. It was pretty surreal as it all unfolded, as prior to the accident, everything was shaping up to be a pretty perfect day for motocross. The track conditions looked pretty prime early in the day. The vibe was pretty cool.
Track looked mint.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? The track crew had made a few changes ready for the ProMX this year. Some of the tabletops were noticeably larger. The famous Wonthaggi rollers, which are usually more like small mountains, they had been cut down a fair bit. They were still pretty big, just not as crazy big as we've seen in the past.
It's not a straight shot through them, so you can't jump through them. You can't skim. Well, you can, but it's quite challenging. And as we saw, quite a few people made a detour off the track.
It's definitely an obstacle that separates the very best riders from the rest of the pack.
Definitely.
I've mentioned on the show that before that I personally find the dirt at Wonthaggi pretty challenging to ride, but for a ProMX National, it looked absolutely perfect. I think they did an amazing job prepping this, and it was a big step up even from the AMX Open a few weeks earlier. And it wasn't quite as deep as we've seen in the past either.
Normally they'll rip it all the way to China.
Yeah, it certainly had that cliche chocolate cake appearance.
Prime.
It was, looking to be some fantastic racing for the day. The qualifying was good. The practice was really, really exciting to watch. The ruts were forming and causing all kinds of challenges, which is always a bit of a spectacle. So getting on to the racing for the day, a couple of my previous podcast guests, unfortunately, Jai Constantino and Taylor McCutcheon weren't there. They were out injured.
So you jinxed them.
Don't say that. Don't say that. There's been a couple of guests on the podcast so far that don't have injuries.
Well, let's keep it that way.
Yep, I'm touching the wooden desk right now, and knock on wood, mate. Knock on wood. But good luck to both of them, and hope they heal up soon. We could say that it might be the Cowie curse. They're following in the footsteps of the PC race team in the US.
Not too good.
No, definitely. That's why my Cowie's pink. I think it's got something to do with
to
riding a
avoid
green bike. Yeah, definitely. So Jai's got a broken femur, which happened in a practice crash. He's going to be out for, I think, 6 to 8 months. And Taylor McCutcheon suffered a broken foot also in a practice crash. So Taylor should be back for the next round that the women are racing, which I think is Gilman, which is round 5. There's a fairly long break between rounds for the women.
Hopefully a speedy recovery to all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're not doing all the rounds?
No, unfortunately they're not. They don't do all the rounds. They're doing 4 this year. I think they did Wonthaggi, they're doing Gilman, and then they're doing 2 of the Queensland rounds.
Why do you think that is? How come they're not doing all the rounds that everyone else is doing?
Well, I've asked that question before, and the answer I got was simply that there isn't enough women that will contest the whole championship, and so it just doesn't make it viable. And I think for some of the ladies and the amount of support that they get, it makes it hard to go to all the rounds.
Right.
I can think of maybe 3 of them that are actually factory supported. You've got Emma Milicevic and TJ O'Hare racing for Honda, and Taylor McCutcheon for Kawasaki, and the rest are privateers. So if the series was longer, I don't think there would be as many of the women who would be able to do the whole series.
Now, do you think with the sport growing the way that it is, that potentially in a few years it could be more rounds added to the women's?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at amateur motocross, the girls' classes and the women's classes, from what I've seen anyway, seem to be growing the last few years especially. Hopefully, we get to a stage where the MXW athletes can compete in the full 8-round season.
Be good to see.
And I think that's the way the trend is going. Like the AMX Open, they matched the purse for MX1, MX2 and MXW, which I think is a great initiative. And again, another thing that hopefully will catch on. So moving on to the MXW race at Wonthaggi, it was red plate holder Charlie Cannon who established an early lead and took the checkered flag ahead of Taylor Thompson. Honda Australia's Emma Milicevic finished in 3rd place. Maddie Brown, who I'm hoping to have on the podcast before the next WMX event, finished a solid 4th place, with Maddie Healy from Shepherd and Honda rounding out top 5.
Good effort.
There was probably about 3 to 4 seconds between each of the women, so not a lot of close battles, but still a good race nonetheless. So MX2 was the only other points-paying race of the day. Of course, the first part of the MX2 race was red flagged after the tragic incident involving Brayden Erbacher, but that was restarted once the track had been cleared. It was a bit of a strange situation, wasn't it?
I'm actually surprised they restarted the race, to be honest.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, restarting the race seems a little odd, but I think at that stage, there were probably very few people outside of the first responders who had any idea of the seriousness of the situation.
Do you think they were just a bit clueless about what was happening and just basically just tried to keep the racing going?
I think the situation was probably so urgent. They got Brayden off the track.
Yeah.
The other officials probably at that stage would have treated it like any other incident. A rider is taken off track, whether they've got a broken leg or
instances like that, they'll shut the whole race down.
Yeah. So ultimately that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
The day was finished early, but I think at that stage, probably a lot of people didn't have any idea of the seriousness of the situation. And as we know, after the red flag, the boys were sent back to the line, probably with not much idea of what had actually happened. And they came out firing. It was reigning MX2 champion Wilson Todd that definitely set the pace, but he didn't get out front and dominate as he usually has. He had some challenges this time. He was hunted down by Nathan Crawford.
Hunted and caught.
When those two came together, it was definitely fireworks, wasn't it?
Jesus, bodies and bikes flying all over the track. I could see Yariv on the fence there standing and waving his arms frantically. I don't know what he's trying to say to his rider there.
What do you think he was trying to say?
He was not happy.
No, I can understand why too.
Yeah.
You could put it down as a racing incident. If I was Wilson Todd, I don't think I would have been very happy about it.
Surely you don't think it was deliberate?
Oh, no, definitely not deliberate.
Yeah.
You know, I think Nathan Crawford is a wily veteran and wouldn't put himself or another rider in that position deliberately. I think he probably got a little bit impatient and he came in a little bit hot.
I think the lap riders played a bit of a part in that too, because I called it right as they were coming into that corner. I said, "Oh, watch this."
Oh,
And
definitely,
They got together.
Yeah, you did. And there was, of course, one lap rider that got torpedoed off his bike
Yes.
by Wilson Todd once Wilson Todd got hit by Nathan Crawford.
Yeah.
So, it was good to see both those boys get back up, though, and see some banter online and a few comments. Going both ways. So everyone supporting their favourite rider and criticising the other. But at the end of the day, I think, it was a racing incident. Of course, Nathan Crawford got disqualified for his race at Wonthaggi, and a lot of people thought it was because of that incident. My understanding is, though, it's because after the red flag, he actually went back to his pits rather than back to the start gate, which is what they're meant to be doing. So I don't know. I think disqualification is probably a little bit harsh. What do you think?
But at a pro level, sure you know the procedure of red flags. I wonder what his thinking was, or if he wasn't thinking.
Yeah, I wonder how much direction the riders were actually getting from the track marshals and the officials at that time as to where to go after the race.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of the time that's where it falls short. We've obviously seen plenty of times where the flaggies sort of aren't too aware of what's going on. So who knows what sort of advice he got or what happened behind the scenes that actually led to him going back to his pits. You know, there's always the chance that he intentionally disregarded instructions from the officials. You don't know, but in any case, being disqualified is a pretty stiff penalty. And while I'm sure his competitors in the MX2 class won't be complaining, it's not great for Nathan or for the fans who are hoping for a pretty close championship battle.
I could understand some points reduction or some minor penalty like that, but disqualification's pretty severe.
Yeah, apparently he copped a pretty stiff fine as well. So, they definitely went in hard.
Last time he'll be doing that.
Yeah, he was revoked all points. So it was Jesse Dobson who came in second for the day. Noah Ferguson, who unfortunately has since suffered a practice crash and is out, I think, for the season injured. He finished third for the day. Caden Minier, the young 15-year-old originally from West Australia, finished up fourth. Brodie Connolly, the New Zealand import, racing for Honda Australia, finished up fifth. Alex Larwood came home in sixth. Liam Andrews in seventh. Cody Cooper, another New Zealand import who's replacing the injured Jai Constantino, finished eighth. Jace Cosford came home in ninth. And Reese Budd finished the day in 10th overall.
Nice.
Of course, after that race, that's where it all went pear-shaped. And it was a little bit surreal seeing such a glorious day. And it was amazing how quickly it turned, wasn't it?
Yeah. Talk about one extreme to the other.
A lot of people with heavy hearts, to put it mildly. It was really heartwarming to see the MX community come together, the riders come together, how much they support each other. I think when things like this happen, the competitive nature of the sport gets thrown out the window and everyone sort of comes together, and who you ride for, what you ride, past grudges, you know, whether you're 30th in the field or first in the field, it doesn't matter. None of that matters anymore. So it's unfortunately incidents like this, thankfully they're far and few between.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there was definitely an outpouring support for the family and friends of young Brayden Erbacher, and we again pass our condolences on to his friends and family and look ahead. If any of our listeners out there find yourself struggling a bit, please reach out to your friends, family, riding buddies, loved ones. It's amazing how much simply talking to someone else can help. Also, don't be afraid to call a support service like Beyond Blue or Lifeline. They're there to help. I've included a link to both of these amazing services in the bio of this episode. We're going to take a quick break now, and when we get back, we'll be moving on to round 2 of the ProMX Championship at Appin, and what was a pretty action-packed weekend. If you like lightweight motocross gloves that maximise feel, check out Deathgrip gloves. Right now, Deathgrip are offering Mental for Moto listeners a whopping 35% off their Reaper motocross gloves. Just head over to www.deathgrip.store or click on the link below and use the discount code MENTAL23. It's a limited offer, so make sure you place your order today. Do you need a fire extinguisher for your workshop, van or business? Servicing the Greater Melbourne area, Wolf Building Compliance offers a comprehensive range of fire protection sales, maintenance and reporting services. Use the contact form at www.wolfbc.net. Mention Mental for Moto and the guys at Wolf will be sure to look after you. After a new pair of motocross goggles? Works Racing goggles have all the features of a high-end roll-off system at a fraction of the price. The wet weather will soon be upon us once again, and if you're in the market for a new set of goggles, I highly recommend you give these a go. To place your order, simply click on the link below. So, on the 19th of March, we moved on to round 2 of the ProMX Championship up at Appin in New South Wales. Now, this track has a bit of a reputation. We haven't been there for a few years, and I saw a lot of, let's call it banter online, calling the track crappin' and even less less complimentary names. Yeah. Anyway, what were your thoughts to begin with? It was obviously a scorching day. I think it reached 39 degrees
or something.
So
That's brutal.
They would have had to have put a lot of water in the track just to keep the moisture in. However, it would seem like they left the plug out of Sydney Harbour and the drain hole ended up going into Appin.
That track looked rough.
So
that was rough.
Yeah, I don't know if it was tongue in cheek or a genuine excuse for the track conditions, but there was a lot of reports that they actually accidentally left the sprinklers on in a couple of the corners. So
that's a big oops.
Yeah, that's a pretty big oops. There was high-profile riders that were talking about it for days afterwards in all kinds of media. Team principals, including Craig Dack and Yuriv Konski, were pretty scathing about the track conditions. But it makes you wonder, it's obviously not the first moto and the first high-profile race they've had at Appin. Surely they'd have some experience prepping that particular track, and they know what the dirt's like and
what works and what doesn't work.
It makes you wonder that, for a national and for the amount of money and preparation that goes into an event of that caliber, how that could happen.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Perfect track. It's not ripped too deep, but they flood it and it just turns into an absolute nightmare.
And that claimed a lot of bikes. I think quite a few of the privateers through qualifying and practice, their bikes didn't even make it, so they didn't even make it to the line.
I've seen a few blow up.
I know it's the highest level of motocross in the country, but if you can't even get through practice without blowing up a bike, that's really not great for the sport, and which is mostly made up by privateers. There's only a limited number of factory-supported riders in the paddock who might have a spare bike or mechanics that can work and fix a bike between practice and a moto.
Yeah.
For everyone else, it meant, their day was over. I think we're sort of starting to get an idea of how hard it is for some of these privateers to just to make it to the race, and a lot of them don't have a lot of support. They get almost no financial support, so they're paying out of pocket to go to these races and obviously do what they love. Some are trying to make it and make a career of it. So when the track conditions result in a bike blowing up or directly contribute to a bike blowing up before the racing even starts, I think that's a little bit problematic. What are your sort of thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like these privateers, all their families chipping in, they're all chipping in to get these guys to the races, and when it's that rough and the bikes are just giving out,
it just tortures the bike.
It is.
These guys are professional racers, and there's consequences, whether that's mechanical failure or injury. We don't want to see either. As fans, we don't want to see either. The riders certainly don't want to experience either. And I think keeping these riders in one piece and keeping the bikes in one piece makes for a better championship.
Yeah.
And it makes for better careers. And it lets these riders stay in the sport and progress.
Do you think a wet track like Appin makes for better racing?
Personally, I don't think it makes for better racing. I think it definitely separates the elite from the very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a handful of riders in Australia that definitely stand out when the tracks get wet or deeply rutted and super, super rough like we saw at Appin. The likes of Jed Beaton, who's been racing over in Europe, Cole Webster, who's a sand expert, and, by his own account, loves racing when the tracks get technical. Their version of, quote, technical, for me, just looks insanely gnarly. And then I think you get to probably outside the top 10 and it becomes a real challenge.
It'd be interesting to see throughout the series if the track conditions change from one extreme to the other. Maybe another track comes up that's not as rutted, rough, and see if the field changes much. Yeah,
well, the next round at Albury Wodonga, I think they traditionally have a fairly hard base.
Yep.
You know, especially if they don't cop any rain. Yeah, and the track ends up being quite hard pack and not as deep as the rounds we've seen so far.
Interesting.
Yeah. Look, again, I'm not going to be too critical of the organisers at Appin. If mistakes were made or not, we don't know. But at the end of the day, I think prepping a track for a 40-degree day in any case is it's certainly challenging, and it's an uphill battle trying to keep the moisture in the ground. And unlike Wonthaggi, which was also forecast to be hot, at Appin it actually did turn out to be hot, and that was a challenge in itself, both for the riders and the organisers.
Do you think they just excessively watered potentially excessively watered, to keep the dust down? Because it was obviously televised and stuff. Do you think that could have played a factor?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think all those things play a factor. Like, they want to create a good racetrack. They want a professional level racetrack.
Yep.
And dust, it's not good for cameras. It's not good for spectators. And it's not good for the riders. So it's easy to sit here and be critical. But at the end of the day, I think hopefully some things were learned. And, yeah, we don't sort of see the issues that we saw at Appin to that same extreme at the tracks and the races yet to come.
Be good to see.
One of the other talking points for this round and the series in general was this Kiwi invasion. What's going on?
We're getting invaded, mate. They're coming for us.
Yeah, and they're pretty good. I mean, we've got Hamish Harwood in the MX1 class. He's a 5-time New Zealand champion. He's the 2023 MX1 in New Zealand runner-up. We've got Cody Cooper, the 38-year-old, who's the 2023 MX2 New Zealand champion. And, of course, Brodie Connolly, who's now racing MX2 for Honda Australia, and looks like he's going to hang around for a while.
Pretty good. That's very good.
It's definitely great to see some new riders in the mix, and in the mix they certainly are.
They're holding their own, that's for sure.
Yep, I actually had to do a double take when I saw their name, Harwood, and I was like, who is this person? I've never heard of them.
Where did they come from?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't really followed the New Zealand motocross scene.
I wonder what the scene's like over there.
Obviously, it's producing some pretty good riders, so... One of my previous podcast guests, Steve Powell, spoke about Cody Cooper was one of the young team members at that stage. I think he was on the Honda team when Steve worked there as a mechanic. Yeah, that was going back to the early 2000s. So
been around a while.
Anyway, it's good seeing those guys in the mix. Okie dokie, before we get stuck into the day's racing and how that all unfolded at Appin, I think we should get our phone guests on the line. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Our first phone guest today, Cory Watts, is a 24-year-old privateer based in northwestern Victoria from the small town near Horsham called Sheep Hills. Many of the listeners probably know Cory as the rider who found himself hanging quite precariously from the side of the start-finish tabletop during the first round of the Aussie Supercross at Marvel Arena last year. Cory's competed in both pro motocross and supercross on the national level for a number of years, and he raced the MX1 class at round 2 of this year's ProMX Championship at Appin. Hey, Cory, welcome to the podcast, mate. I'm in the studio at the moment with my co-host, Trav Coward. How's it all going?
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, you're very welcome. First of all, let's talk about round 2 of the ProMX Championship at Appin last weekend. It was a total scorcher, and you had a mixed bag of results. Tell us about your weekend.
Yeah, it was not really results-wise, but I had a bit of fun. Yeah, coming into the round, I was carrying the flu, so I had a few days off work leading up to it, and yeah, that definitely showed with my results. Yeah, it was still a good time, but definitely the weather got to me in the final motos, but overall it was still a good day and good day's racing.
The position map looks like you lost a few places on the first lap in the first moto. Were you involved in that first turn pole-up?
No, I wasn't quite, but I got filled in and I got mud in between my lens and the roll-off, so I did a quick pit stop and changed the goggles over, and I was right near the back there by that stage.
How were the track conditions, Cory? The track looked rough as guts.
Yeah, the qualifying quite difficult, but luckily we're after the lunch break and they went down the hills and most of the corners with the Bobcat. So for our first moto, it was a little bit tricky navigating the Bobcat stuff, but then halfway through, yeah, it was pretty good. The ruts were starting to form up at that stage, but by the end of the day, it got rough and, yeah, all the ruts and that were pretty hard pack and dry, so she was technical, so
Yeah,
which
it
was
looked
all
pretty
right.
gnarly for sure.
So, Cory, I got to ask, where did the nickname Rubber Arms come from, and what's the story behind that, mate?
Oh, just, well, just me and me mates and just privateer life and enjoy a beer sometimes. So, yeah, the lads, if there's something going on and if there's beers involved, I can't really say no. So that's where the old Rubber Arm comes out from.
Nice, I love it. Good stuff.
Your sponsors at Appin were listed as Scrivens Honda and Davey Motorsport. How do they help your program, and who else supports you getting to the races?
Yeah, so Scrivo's been looking after me for the last 9 years now. So just a little Honda shop from Kerrang, which goes above and beyond just to look after me. And it's a bit of a drive to get there, but he sends parts and whatever I need. And then Davey Motorsports, they're just helping out on race day and letting us pit there at the truck and use the pressure washer and that. So yeah, Whitey and the crew are pretty friendly people and enjoy a beer after racing. So yeah, him and Dad get along pretty well. So that's how all that happens. So yeah, which is good. And then I have a few other people looking after me. Then just a few like money sponsors and little businesses helping out, which goes a long way. I got Callum Morris Constructions. He's just a small builder from Mount Gambier. Look, this is his second year helping me out. And then Josh McLean Motorcycles from Horsham. Any bits and pieces that can't get from Scrivo, he helps out with. And, yeah, he's just a small little dealership that, yeah, he goes above and beyond to help out local races. And then Race Ready Suspension, this is his second year of helping out, just a small suspension shop in Ballarat. Yeah, and then there's just a list of just smaller businesses and friends that are helping out.
No, awesome. It's not easy doing the privateer thing. Are you going to be racing at Albury Wodonga?
Yeah, yep, got the entry in. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I don't go too bad there. I've been lacking a bit of fitness lately at the Vic, so I probably could have went a bit better, but still coming off the flu there. So I look forward to doing that one. I missed out last year because I was crooked this time last year as well. So hopefully, yeah, stay healthy leading up to it, and it should be a good event.
Yeah, no good. It's just that time of year for you.
Yeah. As the weather's starting to change, it just gets the better of me, I think.
Yeah, what sort of goals do you have when you're racing?
I think it varies. It depends, like the preparation that I put in. To get points at this stage with such a stacked field that's a goal for us, to try and get points every race and just try put in the best performance as I can every weekend and see what happens.
In the lead up to a national race, Cory, what does your week look like as far as training? I mean, do you do any training, nutrition, anything specific in the lead up to a national?
Not really. We stop at a pub on the way there and get a chicken parma.
Carb load.
Yeah, but I injured my knee at the Wonthaggi Open at the start of the year. So the last year I would have been doing a bit of footy training and stuff like that, off the bike stuff. But yeah, this year I've been a bit slack and haven't been able to do a lot during the week. So my only preparations on the weekends and stuff like that have been pretty busy getting ready for work, and we're starting cropping at work as well. So
yeah,
a lot of my time goes to that, and living by myself, I don't really get much time to do that stuff.
Changing the subject a bit, you did pretty well at the Australian Supercross Championship last year, finishing a very respectable 8th overall in the MX1 class. Does Supercross come more naturally to you?
I don't know. I spend a bit of time practicing with my mates and that, and I'm a little bit more calculating and, that type of stuff. It might seem that it comes easy, but it doesn't. I never really put myself in a position to get out of shape well, not too much. The Melbourne wasn't really a good example for that, but yeah, the rest of the time I ride the track and try not to race the people around me, and it just showed if you finish most of the races, you still get a good result in Supercross, which is pretty cool.
Consistency, yeah.
Yeah, some of the tracks last year definitely looked a bit challenging.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag, and with not much preparation, not having the closest track that I rode was 5.5 hours away to train on. So I went over to Adelaide and I went to Cruisix once before Melbourne. So
yep.
Yeah, and then it was just straight in. Bit of a mixture of tracks, but it was good.
So speaking of Supercross, you're a bit of a viral sensation there. Round one of the of the Oz Supercross at Marvel Arena, mate. Just walk us through what happened there.
Oh, I think it was just probably a lack of riding before it, a bit of a brain fade moment.
Yep.
Yeah, the rider beside me came across and I kind of half shit myself, and then I backed off, but I was like, oh, it's too late now to to roll it because it was such a steep up ramp. So I was like, I'll gun it, and I'll point the bike up in a upwards position, knowing that I was going to come up short. But as I reefed the throttle on, it's kind of hooked me to the side. I was like, oh no, this is the end of it. But yeah, luckily to clip the top on the way down and brace didn't hit the hard, so which was luckily.
That looked insane because you landed, fell off the side. You were hanging off the side of the landing ramp for a little bit. Looks like you landed on your bike. I mean, were you all right after all that?
Yeah, I busted up my body armour, and I had the sponsor on the front, Riley Hancock, on there, and I cracked him in half and broke the body armour. So I was a bit gutted about that, and luckily nothing broke and just had bruised ribs for a few days, which was probably the best outcome from that situation.
I seen you had the image of that on a poster, and you're actually signing that at the races for some race fans. I love that. That was awesome. Yeah,
I had no idea that was happening. This little kid came up to me. He's like, "Oh, do you mind signing this?" It was folded up, and I was just like, "Oh, it's probably just like a Husqvarna or something poster." And he's flipped it open, and it's got me crashing. I was like, pissed myself laughing. I went red as, and Dad just standing in the background, pissing himself laughing. He organised that. So,
the cheeky bugger.
Mate, any publicity is good publicity. I'm sure your sponsors would have been happy about it anyway.
Yeah, I try a bit of Alpine Star gear out of it. I'm like, surely thousands of people are saying it. Get me some gear, but no, it was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Do you have any long-term aspirations in the sport? And do you have plans to head overseas or race the WSX? Or is there something in the sport that you're working towards?
Hopefully this year we've set the goal to go to America and race a few events there. We're still in the planning stage of it, but hopefully to do Redbud, Southwick, Millville, and then maybe Washougal, but we'll see how the budget's stretching out by that stage.
Yeah, hopefully we can get you on again, especially if you if you decide to go over to the US. It'd be great to hear about some of your experiences over there.
Yeah, no, which would be good, and I look forward to that. That'd be good. That's kind of my future goal, but after that, I'm racing and that. I'm not too sure. Whatever happens, I'd like to do the Supercross again with a good finish last year. I'd like to give that a good nudge again and a bit more bike time leading up to that. I'd like to be not far off the pace from them top guys. So they're the kind of two goals I've got for this year, and then after that, who knows?
No, unreal. Well, we'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, no, it should be good. Hopefully, got Ben, the film guy, following me around, and he wasn't able to come to the Supercross, so hopefully we'll get some YouTube footage for around the Supercross time as well, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah,
You've got your own YouTube channel, is that correct, Cory?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's just Cory Watts Racing or Cory Watts 17, and I posted up on Instagram, and I've got the link in my bio for that. So
nice, good stuff.
Every round, so which is pretty cool.
They're pretty entertaining. We watched a few of them, before the interview. Do you do most of that yourself, or you got someone that does it for you?
No, I'm hopeless at that stuff. I got Ben, my friend. He's a bit of a wizard on the camera and the computer editing up. So he looks after me, and he's been following around the nationals for the last year and the start of this year, and he does an unreal job. So keeps the sponsors happy and keeps everyone up to date what I'm doing as well.
How long you been? How long you been racing the nationals for?
I had a bit of since I started under 19 back in 2015, but then I did that for 2 years, and then I had a knee injury. I've had 2 years off with a knee reco, so bits and pieces. So I'm not too sure how long. Yeah. Haven't really had many outbreak rides there. My best finish last year was at Maitland. I got was it 9th in the second moto, I think, and for a 13th overall, which was pretty cool. Better a few of the quick guys that always give me a hiding. So
that's definitely a good result. All right, well, thanks for coming on, and we'll let you get back to your footy and your dinner.
And a bit of bike prep.
Yeah, sweet. Well, if I see you up at Albury, I think we'll both be going up. So, we'll come and say good day.
Yeah, excellent. No, that'll be good.
No worries. All right, thanks, Cory. And
thanks, Cory.
Yeah, we'll chat to you soon.
Excellent. No, too easy. Thanks, fellas.
Cheers, mate. See ya.
See ya.
What a legend. Cory's not your typical pro rider, that's for sure. I would definitely encourage everyone to go check out Cory's YouTube channel too, especially the last episode that looks at his day at Appin. He keeps it pretty lighthearted, but you can see the difference in the track conditions between the Saturday before it was watered and the Sunday when all the racing took place. It gives some great insight into just how challenging the conditions that these races can be. Okay, our next guest today, Memphis Trevena, is just 15 years old. He's looking to gain experience and make his mark racing the MX3 class in the 2023 ProMX Championship. He's a local to the South Gippsland area, so I've had the opportunity to see Memphis develop as a rider and as a person firsthand over the last couple of years. I always love chatting to him as it's so obvious that he lives, dreams and breathes motocross. Hey Memphis, welcome to the podcast. How's it all going?
Yeah, not too bad.
I've got Trav Coward in studio with me here.
Memphis, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks. How about yourself?
Not too bad at all.
You've just come back from racing your first national in the MX3 class. Tell us what the whole experience was like.
Yeah, I've lined up for a couple nationals, but obviously Wonthaggi didn't go ahead due to an incident in MX2. But yeah, that was my first full day in the MX3 class at Appin, New South Wales. But unfortunately, I had a bit of a crash in qualifying. I came down the hill and there's that rut that sort of had a straight after it and then another corner. It was real wet in between it, and I just tipped over. And then you get 10 minutes of qualifying. So after that, I got one more lap, and I just couldn't make it happen.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Speaking of ruts, mate, the track looked absolutely gnarly. Was it as bad as it looked?
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. It was very rough, technical. Like, I just don't think I was prepared for what the track was like, but it was a bit like Coffs Harbour. That was my first national I ever did last year. But I wasn't really that competitive there either. I think I got like 30th, like 30 something. But it was bloody technical.
Like approaching a track that's that bad, I mean, are you just looking for the smoothest line possible, or are you still trying to take inside lines, looking for the fastest line?
Well, during qualifying, because we were second or third out. I was Group 2 qualifying. So when I was on the track, there was just sort of like, it was pretty one-liney, sort of inside, outside.
Yeah.
Like the track, it was pretty obliterated by the time I got out there. Already, like, just ruts super long and deep because you're just trying to blow the track apart when you're going fast.
What's your sort of favourite track conditions or your favourite track and how come?
I like the hard pack. I don't mind. I like a rough track, but I don't think I was ready for what happened. But I like the Wonthaggi at the moment. I like the sand. I like the loam. I like a fast-paced track, but I grew up riding hard pack, so I also enjoy riding hard pack. But I'm loving the sand at the moment.
Oh yeah, that's a whole different animal again. Ever get out to Rosebud?
Yeah, I ride Rosebud a bit. I used to ride there a fair bit on an 85, like go to the twilight rides and stuff, just to get like used to the sand. Your bike moves different, like underneath you. You know what I mean? You got to be a bit looser on your bike. Yeah, I like Rosebud.
Kudos for anyone that can ride the sand, I think.
It's claimed me quite a few times. It's quite a different game changer coming from a hard pack track, and then you basically got to change your whole riding style when it comes to sand. So if you're not on the ball, you'll end up with a mouthful of it in no time.
Oh yeah, for sure. You've got to be on it like the whole time. If you're not, you'll get caught out.
Yeah.
So you raced the MX3 class at the AMX Open and came away. I think it was a 13th overall. Is that right?
Ninth, I think.
Ninth
overall.
in MX3. Awesome. Combined with Appin, what have you learned from those races that might help you moving forward?
I sort of thought about Appin, and I didn't ride like how I know how to. I qualified at Wonthaggi, but we didn't get to race due to what happened, which is sad, which is very sad. But what I've learned sort of is that, like, even the state titles and stuff, the tracks get nothing like what the nationals are like. The ruts are deep. They're just chopped out. They're hard tracks to ride. But that's where I want to try and do as much training as I can, you know, on the bike, just do good motos and stuff. It's a different kettle of fish when you're out there, though, because you've got 39 other riders in MX3 at all times, and they're all fast.
Yeah.
Like, everyone had to ride a motorbike. But Wonthaggi MX Masters was pretty good. I think I got 6th in 250 A and 9th in MX3, which is decent.
It's really good.
Some really good riders, so yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the problems is it's hard finding tracks that sort of emulate the nationals conditions to practice on.
Yeah, Wonthaggi gets pretty rough during the week. Normally when the guys ride it, but I don't really ride it that much during the week at the moment. It's not like a national though, because they rip it so deep and then they just water it heaps, and yeah, they're pretty hectic.
Are you planning on doing any of the other rounds?
Yeah, I'm going to Albury Wodonga next weekend, so we're going there, and then I think it's Maitland maybe after that.
Maitland's the next round, yep.
I'm pretty sure we're going to do Maitland, and then probably Gilman too. The only round I might have to miss is Toowoomba because the Aussies are like a couple of weeks after.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Queensland to Darwin. And then I'll most likely do Coolum and Queensland Motor Park.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, we'll be going to Albury Wodonga, and I'll probably head over to Gilman and the last two rounds, so QMP and Coolum as well. So, yeah.
I went and watched Coolum last year, but I didn't get to ride. And then I've I've ridden at Gilman, but they've changed the track completely apparently or something.
Yeah, yep.
How do you find it juggling school training and all that? Being such a young fella and trying to find time for all this, how do you work that?
Well, at the moment, I'm sort of just training Tuesday night on the bike. Like just with like Ross Beaton and there's a few of the younger boys that are out there, and we just normally go just at Wonthaggi there.
Yep.
But I got on with Ross. It's like I've just been improving. You know what I mean?
Do you think he's just pushing you a bit harder, pushing you more in the right direction than just kind of giving you the guide to getting better?
Yeah. Yeah, Ross is a bit. I feel like he's a bit different. Like if you're doing shit, he'll tell you that you're not doing it. Like he's not just like, oh yeah, good job.
Good job. Just go faster.
Yeah. He'll tell you. He'll tell you exactly what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've done a few days like during the year, like just like full days, but I'm going to school like pretty much full time at the moment. But I do stuff off the bike at night time, like, go to the gym or whatever, go for a run, ride. But now that my track, like, because it's raining, it'll be better. So I'll take probably a little bit more time off school, like get here at 3 o'clock because it's not daylight savings either, and then ride, do a few motos and just pack up.
There's quite a few savages on the Beaton's Pro Formula program. Are there any particular riders that you look up to?
Yeah, there's some really good riders on these on Ross's program, like Brodie Conley and like Kyle Webster and Jed Beaton. They're bloody good. So everyone that does his weekly program is good, like super fast.
Yeah, for sure. Being 15 makes it pretty hard to get to the tracks and run a high level racing program on your own. Who helps you out?
Racing MX3 and stuff. It's basically me, dad, and my mum. Like, my just family is my main supporters at the moment, and I've just got a few other people that just give me a bit of chop out in hand, get to the track, and give me a bit of a deal and stuff. So
Deathgrip.
yeah, that's right. Like, motocross is so expensive. It's ridiculous, and especially racing at like you go to the nationals, you need two good 250s. That Well, I've got two 250s, and my race bike's pretty good. It's got suspension. It's pretty stock. It's just got a pipe, and I think I'm getting that ignition, and it might get a head tidied. But like, there's kids on the start line that have got 40 grand motorcycles.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous trying to compete with that.
But
that's the thing. It's just so dear, like entries, fuel, but
licenses.
No, that's right. My parents would prefer to pour money into motocross and rather than me just go hang out down the street and just
absolutely.
You know what I mean? We're doing as much as we can, but it's like there's always going to be someone doing more than you. But we're all putting a good effort in at the moment.
It definitely sounds like it, mate. It's especially for 15, you've got a lot of years ahead of you. So,
and I was talking to Ross, and I was sort of like, oh yeah, I want to do more and do this. He's like, yeah, but you've still got 3 years after this year, join MX3. Like, you've still got a fair bit of time. You know what I mean?
You've got so much time ahead of you. Look at Cody Cooper, who's just come over. He won MX2 over in New Zealand. Brett Metcalf and Justin Brayton, like, they're in their late 30s and they're still doing it. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it when you're 19 or 25 or 30. Have fun and keep it upright.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Is your ultimate goal to end up racing at the pro level, like, full time?
Yeah, I've still got a few years in MX3. So I think it's 18 when you have to move up to the MX2 class. And I'm still a junior next year. So, yeah, I've got 3 or 4 years or something. But that's the dream, to make it to the job one day. Or just race MX2, even if it's a privateer level.
Yep.
Work a few days a week and then just ride myself to the nationals. But we'll just see what happens. Still a bit down the road, so anything can happen, really.
Do you see yourself tackling any supercross races in the future?
Yeah, I want to have a go this year, actually, racing MX3 and Supercross. I did arena cross, but that was nothing like what the Australian Supercrosses are like.
Yeah.
But I've always liked, like doing sharp turns and sort of big, decent jumps and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I'll see how we go. Hopefully we can do a few this year.
I might have to build a Supercross track at your place.
Yeah, hopefully this year we might get a skid steer or something. And, yeah, that'll be the goal. Build a bit of a Supercross track or a few good Supercross sections. Who else is on the podcast this time, just if you don't mind me asking?
We had Cory Watts on earlier. He races MX1. Do you know Cory?
Yeah, I don't really know him, but I know who he is.
Yeah,
he's a bloody Supercross guy.
Yeah, he did really well in the Supercross last year. Yeah, that's
pretty... Did he have fallen off the side of the...
Yes. I did ask him about that. He gave us a whole rundown about what happened. It was quite funny.
He's a good rider. got to have a decent set of knackers to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pretty laid back too.
But, yeah, he seems like a bit of a cruiser around the track.
Yeah.
Pretty serious.
Well, thanks heaps for coming on the podcast, mate. It's been great having you on, and yeah, I love the way you've answered some of the questions too.
Yeah, thank you. It's been good. Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Nah, for sure. Good luck with the rest of the season, man, and yeah, we'll see you at one of the upcoming races.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Memphis.
No worries. See you, buddy.
Cheers for the gloves, mate. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
No, my
See you,
pleasure.
mate.
See ya. And that was MX3 rider Memphis Trevena. As I said earlier, it's always a pleasure chatting with Memphis, and he's got some amazing insight and wisdom, especially for a kid his age. All right, let's get on to the day's racing.
The big boys.
Yep. Of course, this was the first time we got to see the MX1 boys, as the only time they hit the track at Wonthaggi was for practice and their qualifying shootout. Moto 1 started off with a bit of a bang. The first corner pile-up.
The swamp.
Yep. The riders come around like they normally do and ended up in the bog of eternal misery.
I saw Kyle Webster was unfortunate enough to get tangled up in that mess.
Yep, he looked like Artax, drowning in that bog.
Never to be seen again.
Yeah, a few tears were shed, no doubt. So, but yeah, that wasn't a great start to his championship title contention. But how about Dean Ferris making his return, like John Farnham from multiple retirements aboard the Brisbane Motorcycles Yamaha?
What can you say about Dean?
Yeah,
Great start and a great ride.
Yeah, he was smooth. He looked like he was a class above. I mean, that step up triple, a lot of the riders were struggling to get over that, and he was greasing it lap after lap.
He's looking quite at home on that Yamaha for sure.
Yeah,
and if he keeps getting starts like that, he's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, it's definitely the way it looked, wasn't it? I think he's definitely set the tone now for the rest of the championship. If he can repeat that at Albury,
yep,
I think it's going to be an uphill battle for anyone to get ahead of him once he's got some even
momentum
more confidence.
Going.
Yeah,
yep.
He's got some momentum, some confidence.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great to see, and definitely looks like he took a big step up from since he raced on aboard the Honda last year.
Yep.
So I think there's hope for us old boys that we can still improve.
Still have a crack.
Yep, because he seems to be getting better and better. Speaking of old boys, Matt Moss is back from Supercross over in the US.
Mossy, he was holding his own. I was very impressed with his riding.
Yeah, he faded a little bit, but yeah, he definitely looked very strong, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for the remainder of the season.
Do you think he faded just to the conditions, or?
I think if he's probably been prepping for Supercross, it's a bit of a different animal.
Shock to the system, yeah.
I doubt he's been doing the 30-minute moto grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's living it up right now, jet setting.
Living the life. He was running in second place for quite a while.
Yeah, he was. But he's got that experience, and on a track like that,
yeah,
I'm sure that experience that he's got came into play.
Oh, definitely.
He's a multi-time motocross champion.
Yep.
He's been around the traps, and I think the 40-degree temperature, and a little bit of lack of conditioning probably played a really big impact. But he certainly didn't look like he was lacking speed.
Because even when Tanti passed him, he was still right behind Aaron the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to learn some lines from him, kept up with him, kept a good pace going for quite a while.
Yeah, he definitely held on. So, I'm looking forward to the next round. I think this round was a real taste of what we're going to get moving forward. So, speaking of returns, how good was it to see Regan Duffy back in the mix?
It was good for a little bit. Until he got in that bingle on the first corner.
Was that him that was tangled in there, was it?
Yeah, he was involved in that.
What a bummer of a start for
I would have loved
campaign.
to seen him up there battling.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a few races for him to really get back up there and find his confidence and find his pace. I mean, when he had his massive crash, some pretty horrific, life-threatening injuries, he was set to go to Europe a few weeks after that had actually occurred, and he was on the top of the Australian moto scene. He had a very close second place finish in the MX1 class in 2021 when he finished just 3 points behind the eventual champion Luke Clout. Just like Mossy, I'm looking forward to seeing what Duffy can do for the rest of the season. And
he stops injuring himself.
So I think he hurt his hand in a motocross injury a few weeks ago, which is what stopped him racing. I think he had a broken thumb. That's what stopped him racing at the
Wonthaggi.
AMX Open. Yeah.
Okay.
And then more recently, I think he had a push biking accident.
Stay off the pushies.
He grazed the palm of his hand and his arm and, probably a few other places we can't see.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that the boys don't wear Lycra when they're racing motocross. Both for...
That's just wrong.
Yeah, otherwise the fans would end up with some eyeball injuries,
That's
I think.
wrong.
So even though Tanti and Ferris ended up the day even on points in the championship, and it was only a tip over in the first part of the part one of Moto 2 that hampered Ferris's points for the day, I think that the points are kind of a little bit misleading. For me, I think it was Ferris that looked head and shoulders above everyone else, and that's not to take anything away from Tanti. He looked strong, he looked consistent.
Yep.
He definitely looked a lot more composed, I think, than we've seen him in the past. So since winning his championship, I think he's probably matured a lot, and it's going to be good to see how he bounces back from this as well.
It looked like Dean was on a different level. He's just in his own world, riding his own race.
Yeah, it looked like he was riding a different track.
Yep.
You know, he looked smooth when other riders were hitting bumps and hitting holes and, coming out of ruts.
Yep.
And, it was just...
He's just on fire.
He was just on fire. Speaking of riders on fire, just one more that I wanted to mention on the day, which I thought was really interesting, was Jed Beaton. So looking back at the AMX Open, he got, well and truly beaten by Cole Webster. I think in the first moto, he was down by about 30 seconds. Then the ProMX shootout at Wonthaggi, he actually got the fastest time. He won the shootout. So he'd obviously improved and he's getting more comfortable. And now, he was up there the whole weekend at Appin. So he went 4-2 for third overall on the weekend. And I think he looked strong.
He put in a really strong ride.
Yep.
Probably due to all the European riding.
Yeah, I guess those tracks are infamously rough over there.
Yep.
So maybe I'm not giving him or haven't given him the credit that he's deserved in the past. But for me, again, he didn't quite have Dean Ferris's pace, but he looked really smooth.
Nobody did.
Yeah. Yeah, but he looked smooth. So, I actually think he's going to be a contender moving forward. If he continues that same trajectory where he's improving each time he goes out and each time we see him, I think Jed, he's going to be a contender for the title at the end of the year.
Top three or title?
I would say a contender.
Yep.
Just a contender. Look, we'll talk a little bit about, Wodonga later on in the podcast.
Yep.
But I think Jed, Tanti and Ferris at the moment would be my picks. And of course, Cole Webster.
Yep.
I think Webster didn't have the greatest race at Appin. That first moto crash definitely didn't help his chances, but he fought back pretty valiantly from a very distant last place. I think he got 10th in the first moto and a solid 4th in the second moto. He was a little bit off the pace, but again, like Jed, he rode consistently and he finished the day with a 7th overall. Little bit back from in the field.
Yeah, I think Appin caught a lot of people out.
Yep, I think he's going to bounce back.
Yep, I agree with that.
The MX2 class for the day, the points from the one moto that happened at Wonthaggi were confirmed, so they're going to stay. And again, it was Wilson Todd and Nathan Crawford who were up the front, but just like Dean Ferris, it was Crawford that looked amazing. He was riding like a man possessed.
Oh my God. Moto 2 for Crawford?
Yeah, I think he came from like 10th place. Oh, I would say it was further back than 7th, wasn't it?
7th or 8th place, something like that.
Yeah, it was a long way back. It was
Pass
a long
the
way
whole
back.
field and then check out.
Yep, and he was passing them like, they were standing still.
He loved that inside rut of that one corner.
Yep.
He passed 4 or 5 guys in one corner.
Yeah.
One shot just in that inside rut.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where he passed Wilson Todd.
For the lead.
Yep.
Same corner. He was riding really good.
I think he was getting a bit of redemption from the Wonthaggi round from being DQ'd.
Had some beef.
Yeah.
Had to redeem himself.
So Wilson Todd said that because of his strong points lead, that he wasn't going to take any risks on the day. But do you think that he would have had the pace to stick with Crawford if he had to drop the hammer?
Honestly, no way. I don't think he would have.
Yeah.
With how good Crawford was riding, I don't think anyone could have touched him.
Yeah, it's a big call. I mean, we look at how dominant Wilson Todd was last year. And I think there's no other word to describe his performance in 2022 when he won the MX2 Championship. But I don't think on the day there was anyone there, including Wilson Todd, who could have held a candle to Nathan Crawford.
Do you think Crawford was just looking at the short game, whereas these other riders are looking at the whole season?
I had the feeling watching the way he was riding that almost like he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably not happy with what happened at Wonthaggi getting disqualified. It's obviously impacted his championship aspirations.
Yep.
So I think he went out there to set a tone, to make a statement.
Well, make a statement he did indeed.
Crawford, the wily veteran, went 1-1 on the day.
We'll see if he carries that momentum through to Albury Wodonga.
Yeah. And again, like the AMX Open, I mentioned in the podcast there that the thing that made him dominant that day was the fact that he was very creative with his lines. And I think we saw the same thing up at Appin. He was taking lines that nobody else was taking.
Everyone was taking the outside, the smoother lines, but he had those inside dialed in.
Yeah. And even some of the jumps, he was hitting them with different angles to a lot of the other riders, and he was getting over them where a lot of the guys in the MX2 really looked to be struggling.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's his creativity. I don't know what it comes down to, whether it's just his style of riding or whether it's his experience. He was just a class above.
He was a man possessed.
Yeah. I think I'll run with that one. So in the end, of course, it was Nathan Crawford going 1-1 on the day and, making that statement. So he took the overall ahead of Wilson Todd, who went 2-2. New Zealand import, Brodie Connolly, finished the day in third with a 3-5.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. And I think he didn't do so well at the Wonthaggi round. I think he came around when we were watching in the rollers. He was covered in quite a bit of dirt. I think he had a little bit of a mishap.
Unexpected departure from the bike.
Yes, yeah. Took a bit of a dirt nap, a brief dirt nap. So I think his results at Wonthaggi were not quite reflective of his ability and his pace at the moment. Reece Budd, bit of a bounce back from his 10th at Wonthaggi, finished the day with a 4th overall. Again, he had a little bit of an up and down day. He finished 10th in the first moto and then got a 3rd in the second moto. Caleb Barham, great result with a 5th overall. Caden Minier, the young KTM rider and Nathan Crawford's teammate, with a 5.8 on the day. Probably not the results he was after, but still strong. And I think if he maintains some consistency, he has the pace to be a top 3 runner.
Yeah.
Jesse Dobson, 6.11 for 7th overall. Jace Cosford, 8th overall. Liam Andrews for 9th. And Ryan Alexanderson rounding out the top 10 with an 8.15. So I want to give a shout out as well to my previous podcast guest, Riley Futchko. I think he got a 26th and a 29th in the MX2 class. I know he was looking for a top 20. He got some pretty good TV coverage there. I think they showed him for a solid 30 seconds. No, he actually got some pretty good coverage in Moto 2.
Good to see these new up and comers get a little bit of TV coverage. Always helps.
Yeah, it was great to see him on TV. However, one of the things that definitely grates on my nerves a little bit is the commentators, Danny Ham and Lee Hogan. They do a great job. However, they don't use a lot of the privateers' names. If the riders aren't in the top 5 or 6, they don't seem to be getting a lot of love.
True. I agree with that.
If you look at the US racing, there's a lot of privateers who have got pretty high profiles now, and I think it's the media coverage that they get. You know, the commentators use their names, they call them out on the race days, and, you know, that helps these riders get sponsors, represent their sponsors well. That helps them get to the races. It supports their efforts.
Yeah.
Brings money into the sport. It gives fans someone to cheer on. So I'd like to see that with Australian Moto a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully it gets to that point where privateers get a bit more exposure.
Yeah, but the coverage could be definitely improved.
Yeah.
Not to take away, I think it's great. The coverage we've received this year of the races has been awesome. And the last couple of years. It was disappointing in the Supercross last year not to have the South Australian round telecast.
Having said that too, even a couple of years before that, we didn't have motocross on TV or anything. So
yeah,
it's getting better.
It's definitely getting a lot better. I don't know whether it's a case of preparation or lack of resources available to the commentators. I would have thought that surely they'd have a list of the riders in front of them, and when they see a rider being shown, for any extended period of time, more than a few seconds at least, that they could look down and
get their names right.
Oh, just use their names, even if the name's not quite right. I can't pronounce some of these riders' names. I look at the list and I'm like, would not want to say that out live. But hey, make it up.
Yep.
If you can't make it, fake it.
That's it.
All right. And the last class racing up at Appin was the MX3 class. So the young bucks, I think 14 to 18-year-olds.
Quite some interesting racing.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of ups and downs. A lot of mixed results. In the end, it was the four-way shootout at the end of Moto 2 in the MX3 class that was, I think, one of the highlights of the day's racing. I'm not even sure where some of those guys came from. It seemed like
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the field was spread out. There was seconds between them, and all of a sudden, with a couple of laps to go, there was four riders just... Yeah, absolutely neck and neck. They were going off the track. They were passing each other. That
was good racing.
Yeah, making moves. And all of a sudden it was just the tempo was up and it got real exciting. So I'm hoping that the rest of the season for those young boys looks like that.
That'll be good. That'll be a good season to watch if it's all like that.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of getting some publicity and some exposure, if you want exposure, you race like that.
Everyone will know.
Yeah, everyone will know. Definitely.
Well, it just brings, could potentially bring in new watchers to the sport. You got exciting racing like that.
Whether you're a racer or an organizer of one of these events, the goal is to make close, exciting racing, and that's what's going to bring sponsors. It's going to bring fans. It's going to bring exposure.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, those boys.
They were going at it.
They definitely did their bit.
That's for sure.
So that battle, of course, was between Connor Towell, Kai Woods, Liam Owens and Jet Alsop. In the end, it was Kai Woods that got the overall for the day, with Liam Owens in second, Byron Dennis in third, Jack Mather with fourth, and Connor Towell rounding out the top five. Jet, who was involved in that battle in Moto 2, he finished the day with a 12th after a DNF in Moto 1. So for the next round 3 of the 2023 ProMX Championship, we head up to Wodonga. Before we make our picks, let's have a look at the results from last year. Dean Ferris, 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Waters, he got a second and a third. And Aaron Tanti with the third overall from last year.
You changing your picks?
My picks? I haven't made my picks yet. They're not finalised until they're...
it's in writing, so it's good as gold.
Oh, no. Until they're on the podcast, I can keep changing. Wowzers. What do you reckon so far?
My picks.
Your picks for the 2023 Albury round 3 in the MX1 class.
First place, no surprise, Dean Ferris.
Yep.
2. Who did I say before?
Aaron Tanti.
Yes, Aaron Tanti for second place. Third place, Jed Beaton.
Jed Beaton. He's going to continue... on his upward trajectory.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah.
Who's your picks?
My picks. I think in third place, Jed Beaton.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's going from strength to strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting because Albury Wodonga doesn't tend to necessarily be a deep or ruddy track. So I don't know actually how that's going to go. I think his strength is going to be the rough tracks, the deep tracks, sort of what he's faced in racing over in Europe. But I still think that he's going to be fast. He's got a lot of experience on a bunch of different surfaces in a range of different conditions. So I'm going to stick with Jed Beaton in third.
Yep.
In second place, I'm going to say Dean Ferris. Second place.
All right.
He was super strong here last year, but there is a caveat. The caveat is that Luke Clout and Kyle Webster weren't racing at Wodonga last year because they were out injured.
Yeah.
So my number one pick.
Drum roll.
I don't know if we have a drum roll.
Do you have a drum roll? You've got a crickets button, but
I do.
No drum roll.
Well, this could be the one for my pick. I'm just going to use that after you make jokes. So my number one pick For the MX1 class, it's going to be Cole Webster.
Oh, Webster on the Honda.
Yep. Didn't look great at Appin. First moto crash definitely didn't help that situation.
No.
However, I think he's got the pace, and I think he's going to have to ride his backside off to get back into title contention.
Do you think he's more suited to a track like Albury Wodonga?
I don't know if it's necessarily his forte. Coming from West Australia, he does better on the sandy tracks,
Yeah.
the deep, loamy, technical tracks. But I think he's going to have to do well here if he's going to be a contender for the championship.
Yeah.
And I think he knows that. He's got quite a lot of experience now. I think it's going to be a bit of a case of make it or break it.
So Webster for the win.
Yep, if he keeps it upright, I think Webster's going to come away with the win.
It'd be good to see him up front.
Definitely. And my wild card,
Ooh.
if someone's going to disrupt my top three,
Right.
I'm going to say Brett Metcalf.
Brett Rathcraft.
Yeah, Medi.
Medi.
Yep.
Really?
I think he could be a spoiler. He finished fourth here last year. He looked good at Appin.
Medi's still up there. You can't count him out.
No, I don't think you can ever count him out.
The wild card, Medi, eh?
Yeah, if someone's going to break your top three, who's it going to be?
Oh, Gibbs.
Gibbs.
He
He looked good at Appin too.
He did.
Yep, he was actually sneaky good.
Had half the bike hanging off, but still kept going away. I wonder what happened there.
How do you ride around with a radiator shroud?
That'd be so distracting, wouldn't it?
Mate, I couldn't do it. I get
I'd
a
have
little
to
speck of mud on my goggles and I'm like, I'm going to quit.
I'd at least have to pull off the track and be trying to kick that thing off.
Oh, that is commitment and that is focus. I think to be riding around with that thing flapping around and getting under your
Hitting
leg. That is a nightmare, especially on a track like that. All right, MX2. Last year, it was Bailey Malkowitz, Wilson Todd, and Ryder Kingsford who made the top three. All right, so who have you got for MX2?
Let's start at third place. Brodie Connolly for third place.
Yep.
Second place, Nathan Crawford.
Crawf.
I think he's going to lose a bit of steam on this next round.
Really?
Yeah, I just got a feeling. I think he's lost that fire. Maybe the chip's gone.
What are you basing that on?
I don't know. It's just a hunch I've got.
Yep.
Just a hunch I've got. I think his point's been made. We'll see what happens. I don't think he can keep it up.
Yep.
I mean, he rides good. I'd like to see him keep it up, but I think Wilson Todd will take the win for the day.
He's going to come back.
He's going to make a comeback.
Yep. Defending champion.
That's it.
Yep. He was the champion for a reason.
That's it. He's got that number one plate.
Well, I'm going to pick the same riders, I think.
Change the order?
Yeah, I'm going to change the order. I think on a smaller, tighter track, I think Brodie Connolly's going to win at least one moto.
Yep.
But I don't think he's going to go one overall. I think it's going to be his first time on top of the leaderboard in a moto. But I think Wilson Todd's experience will get him the overall. Whoa, actually.
It's having second thoughts.
I am having second thoughts. No, I'm going to run with that. And I think Nathan Crawford in third.
Third,
yep. The track, I think, at Albury Wodonga isn't going to offer Nathan the opportunities to get as creative as he might have been at Wonthaggi and Appin.
Yep.
With the way the tracks shape up.
Definitely a lot tighter of a track at Albury Wodonga, so...
Yeah, I think you just don't have the, the 16 ruts to choose from. The square edge bumps, you can double and triple. The braking bumps, it just doesn't have those sorts of obstacles you can get creative on. And I think that creativity, as I said before, is what has given Nathan Crawford his advantage. So I'm going to put Crawford in third.
Interesting.
Yeah. It doesn't. It actually doesn't sit so well in my gut because he's so ridiculously fast, and he has been. He was at the AMX Open, and then again during the first two rounds. He was ridiculously fast. We have to think back at Wonthaggi. Came from a long way back again to catch Wilson Todd before that infamous pass attempt.
Yes.
I think when it comes to raw speed, he's got it, and I think he'll be there come Maitland, the round after. But I just don't think the track suits him.
Again, it's going to come all down to track prep, isn't it?
Yep. So, Wilson Todd, he's going to go 2-1 to Brodie Connolly's 1-2.
We shall see.
Yeah, with Crawford going 3-3. And that brings us to the end of episode 6, the ProMX breakdown for rounds 1 and 2. I'd like to say a massive thanks to my phone guests for this episode, Cory Watts and Memphis Trevena. And of course, my co-host and the founder of Deathgrip Products, Travis Coward. I also want to say a huge thanks to Kid Mac for allowing us to use his song, My Brother's Keeper, for our intro. The theme of the song definitely resonates with me, and I think it matches the theme of this podcast perfectly. We've got some more amazing guests lined up for some of our future episodes, and the goal over the next few months is to get to the point where we're able to produce a new episode every week. To keep up to date with what we're up to, check out our website, mentalformoto.com, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you like what we're doing, want to share any thoughts or feedback related to this episode, are interested in coming on as a guest or working with us as a sponsor, please reach out via the contact form on our website or DM me via one of our social profiles. A big thanks again to our sponsors, Deathgrip Gloves, Works Racing, and Wolf Building Compliance. Please support these guys and let them know we sent you, as it helps us out a lot. And of course, thank you to you people for listening. Follow your dreams. Until next time, see ya.
Is that it?
Just about, yeah, I'm just going to wrap it up.
We made it.
We made it, mate. There's going to be a lot of work in editing these. Fucking shit ton of work.